as well as the gender program. So I'll start with the HIV, which has brought us here. You'll appreciate that as an organization, we promote the decent work agenda, and issues of HIV and AIDS have compromised particularly the working population, because that's the population that is sexually active. So it's been a long journey. We actually call that the response is a very advanced response. I think we're coming from the 80s into the 90s, where we were experiencing very high figures of mortality. We were experiencing very high prevalence rates because there was no treatment. But now, with the advent of antiretroviral therapy, people have the opportunity now to have longer and healthier life, which means even their working life is extended. They are able to.
You mentioned quite a number of sectors that you're working with, for example, transport and tourism, where you have HIV awareness programs. I just want to find out, do you have any HIV awareness programs for journalists in the newsrooms? Looking at the fact that journalists are frontline workers, but when it comes to policies in some of these programs, they are forgotten.
No, that's very true. We do not have we have not engaged and had a specific policy or any programming that is directly looking at the media. But I just, like I said, this is 12. We've worked with 12 sectors out of a whole. I know there are like over 50 NECs, about 54 NECs in the country. So it is a gap. And I think one of the challenges that we're facing now at the moment is that because we have, there's now art in place, many people or many of our society believe HIV is no longer a problem. And particularly now with the advent of COVID, you find that, HIV is sort of getting less and less. And yet you find there is a close link or interrelation, because COVID was also affecting more people who had underlying conditions. So, and then we also felt the challenge because of the lockdowns and the restrictions to movement. Some people who needed access to their treatment could not access it on time, which then also compromised their health, their adherence, and so forth. So I do agree with you that there is a lot that is still to be done. And if you look at what NAC is pushing for in terms of the national, in the past we had what we call the generalized response to HIV, where it was general programs targeting all different everybody within our society. But now because we have an advanced response and we've made progress over the years, there's now targeted programming. And one of the areas or the groups that are being targeted are key populations. They are also targeting young people and adolescents and young people. They are also targeting men. I think you'll appreciate yourselves as mainly men in the room that you have a very poor health-seeking behavior. So men hardly go to seek health services until they are really, really in a desperate situation. So we also use the workplace platform to reach men and influence for behavior change, to influence for safe practices, because at the end of the day, accountability is at personal level. And you'll find that because people in the workplace, they are the ones who have the resources or the financial, you find that they are the ones that mainly go and seek services of sex workers, for example. So you want to have that information so that they also practice safe sex, and they also protect themselves and their families. They are developing they underwent the theory on how to conduct rapid HIV testing, which can only be done by a health worker within a facility. But as a country, there's also been a drive for self-test, where an individual is then given a kit and you're able to conduct your own test, whether within that health facility or you can take the kit and have your test at home. But before, you don't just give randomly. People need to be informed and educated on how to use the kits, and also just pre-counseling, so that people are prepared for any result that can come out of the test. So we try and work at the higher level to ensure that the tools are there. We work at a higher level to ensure that the standards are also then in place and they are cascaded. So, for example, we have a number of companies that are represented in the room. So you could say, okay, we work with the Zimbabwe Power Company, we work with the Delta, we work with NRZ. Those are some of the companies in the room. So our work is not necessarily to go to their site and provide the training, but when we do this, we know we have standardized. We've also supported even in terms of ensuring that if they are going to communicate, because you see, it's tricky sometimes. You get into a company and they'll tell you, oh yeah, no, we do have an HIV program, or we do have a policy in place, and then you ask to see, and maybe it's a sentence that is contained in a broader policy, or maybe they invite a drama group once a year and they'll tell you that we have a program. So that standardization is still very, very important. The other area of support is on labor inspection. 2 months ago, we were training labor inspectors from NASA and from the Ministry of Labor, because they are the ones now that go around and inspect companies, so that they're able to understand and appreciate what it is that they're inspecting for, what it is that they see, so that we can have the data and see where the gaps are in the country. So our support is at a higher level, Byron, if I can make it. So this is how we then support, so that whatever we do, other companies, the rest of them can feed into those processes. And harassment in the workplace, it is a reality. It's a silent epidemic. People fear speaking out when they are violated in the workplace. They fear because of, usually the perpetrators will be someone superior to them, and sometimes because the particular workplace has no structure in place, there's no policy, people are not clear, how do we report, or what happens to me, am I safe after reporting? So it's a program that is being informed by the ILO Convention 190, which was passed in 2019. So we are cascading as ILO, and we are part of the Spotlight Initiative, which maybe you are also very familiar with, where 6 other UN agencies, we are 6 UN agencies all together, who are implementing the program, which is being funded by the EU. So, sorry?
Partners within the Spotlight Initiative?
The UN.
Within the Spotlight?
Our partners.
Like you said, you are 6.
There are 6 UN agencies. Okay. So there is UN Women, UNICEF, UNESCO, UNFPA, UNDP, and ourselves. I was taught that, off the record, I was taught that to then cascade the program. UNESCO is in schools, working with also the youth. We are in workplaces, UNFPA is in the communities. So, yeah.
This is a rapid testing training for health workers within the private sector. You know, we've come a long way in the response to HIV, and we really value public-private partnerships, where we are saying we are not leaving anyone behind. We've got the global targets that we need to meet, where we are saying by 2025, 95% of people living with HIV should know their HIV status.
By
2025, 95% of people living with HIV should know their HIV status. And currently, according to Zimfia, we are at 86.8%. Then for the second 95% of people who know their HIV status should be initiated on antiretroviral therapy. And the third 95 is 95% of those who are initiated on ART should achieve viral suppression. This is in an aim to end AIDS by 2030. This is the vision that is there for the whole world, where we want to end AIDS by 2030. So the first 95 is the most critical, where we need to identify those who are still living with HIV but are not aware of their HIV status. We've reached out to 86.8%, but we still have the remaining few that we need to target. That's why we are really saying everyone should participate in this. And that's why we are also training the nurses in the private sector so that they also contribute to identification of the remaining people living with HIV. And this is a 5-day training that we are conducting for the nurses that have been selected. It consists of theory and practical. Right now, this is the final day of the training, and they are doing their practical examination, which they should pass, and then they are also going to write a theory exam, and the results will come back in about 3 to 4 weeks. So they will only be certified after both examinations have been marked. We really value the support that ILO is giving to Ministry of Health and Childcare and the first partnership that is there, because we all need to move together. We don't want to leave anyone behind as we walk through the final mile